This video contains American Civil War battle sequences and harsh descriptive dialogue which some may find troubling. All battle sequences are performed by trained reenactors and should be taken as educational. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey guys and gals, it's your buddy Drew with Living History's Mysteries and Ferocious Feline Productions. You know, back during the era of the American Civil War, several brigades, several units stood out, but very few stood out as much as the Irish Brigade. They started from mere scrapings, and even their commander got in trouble for insubordination. But before it was all said and done, their prowess and their valor was so big, it even impressed their enemy. But I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it. I'm going to let you guys check it out for yourself. This is good.
See how many you are. You are about 1/10 of the Irish Brigade. And I want you to think about how long it took us to go 2 blocks just to get here. And what that would have looked like if we were 10 times our number. And what that would have looked like when there are 35,000 other soldiers in this town. Fredericksburg has never seen a traffic jam like December 1862. You have to have a really good roadmap to figure out how to move units around the downtown from point A to point B. We also do it under shell fire. And there are cannons out on the edge of the town, a mile behind you, already playing on this city. searching for the Union soldiers in its streets. The only thing that a soldier can say works for him today is the weather. Just like it works for you today. We've been doing this walk for over 3 decades. And we've seen all kinds of weather together. Last year, we started in an ice storm. And when we finished, we all had about 4 inches of snow on our equipment. My flight hat looked like pretty much a wedding cake. And yet today, it's in the mid-50s. And we're out here in light gear in December 1862. Which day was more like their day? Last year's snow or this year's balmy weather?
Last year's snow.
It's today.
Oh.
It's today. Many of the veterans, later on in their twilight years, would remember fighting in the snow. But it never happened because the temperatures were about 56 to 58 degrees. Today, we're expected to go to 56 degrees. It's almost precisely the temperatures they had. We had no snow. Neither did they. But they did have mud. Lots of it. And as you trampled the roads, you trampled through mud. When you go out on the field, you lay in mud. You wallow in it. And unlike snow, mud saturates uniforms. Wetness permeates the fibers. It gets right down to the skin. And tonight, when the temperature drops, it did the same in 1862. And while it didn't freeze, men had hypothermia. So even when it's warm, it's not necessarily the best thing for you. So, bottom line, nothing is working for the Union soldier. Not even nice weather. Union soldiers coming down this street have one particular soldier to thank for chronicling their movements. His name is William McCarter. He was a fella in the 116th Pennsylvania Volunteers. He had never been in a battle before Fredericksburg. He would never be in a battle again. He would get wounded 7 times today. 7. And his body will be so crippled, he will be unable to keep up with the soldiers. And he'll be sent home, discharged. But his body is so badly wracked that he will never be able to resume his previous employment as a scrivener, a professional handwriter. After the war, he petitions Washington for a pension for his disability. And he deals with what we deal with, because Washington is bureaucracy. And when they have to pay you something, you have to jump through flaming hoops to get it. And William McCarter's world was no different. He had to fight with the pension office. So much so, he moved from Philadelphia so that he could be there in Washington to argue with them. Now, moving down from Philadelphia, where did he move? What did he make his home? You're standing in. The place that destroyed his health became his home, because this was the defining moment of his life. One day defined his life. And he would hobble up and down these streets, remembering what it was like on December 13th, writing about it in newspapers, in a memoir for his children, and he gave us landmarks and explained step by step where they go and why they did it. He tells us that they left their encampment down on the city dock where we left. They marched north on Sophia Street, or Water Street, this street that we're on. They crossed the railroad. Today it's elevated. 1862, it came in at street level. We would have had to go over the tracks, not under them. He said just shortly beyond that, the whole brigade stopped, which is where we are now. The reason they had to stop is that there is a massive traffic jam up above us. And Hancock, our division commander, is riding down that road to clear the street so that we can march. It's going to take about 10 minutes. And in the 10 minutes, we stand here. This is not an easy spot to be in. William McCarter tells us that as you come down this street, every cross street that faces the Confederates on Marie's Heights is being pummeled with Confederate artillery shells. And that they literally come streaming down those cross streets. So when the brigade marches, they have to run past the cross streets and then hide under the cover of the houses on the other side of the street. As they reform and wait, they see the first tangible sign of the battle going on outside the city. They hear the shells. They see them come whistling by. And now they're going to see the wounded and the dead being brought back from all the previous attacks. Remember, there's a goodly portion of this brigade who's never been in a battle. They've never seen combat. They've never seen such profuse bloodletting. How does that impact them? The 116th Pennsylvania are going to see the sublime and the ludicrous all at once. They're going to see an officer being carted to the rear, wounded, and they're going to drag him in a wheelbarrow. Somewhere they liberated out of the brickyard beyond the edge of the city. But they weren't very good at navigating the wheelbarrow. And it kept threatening to tip over. The officer was an immigrant like the Irish, except he was German. And as they came down the street, they went right past the Irish Brigade, down the length of their ranks. And the wounded officer just puffed on his pipe and gave direction to the guy wheeling the barrow, repeatedly saying, Nick links, Rex, geradeaus. Not to the left, not to the left, to the right, straight ahead. Now, how many people thought we're going on an Irish tour? We're going to hear German today. But that was their introduction. And what did you do? You laughed. What did the Irish Brigade do? They laughed too. Because it was ridiculous. Shortly after that, another wounded soldier was brought back. His wound was his leg was destroyed by a shell. It was still hanging on to him by one tendon. They didn't have a stretcher for him. So somebody ripped a shutter off a house and used that as a stretcher. And as they came in front of the 116th Pennsylvania, the man's leg fell off the side of the shutter and just dangled, swinging back and forth. The Irish soldiers didn't laugh this time. They started yelling, "Put him down! For God's sakes, put him down!" The people on the shutter did not listen. They kept on walking. One of the Irish soldiers stepped out of ranks and with a Bowie knife cut the tendon. The leg hit the ground with a thud. And the poor sufferer smiled in relief. new soldiers in the brigade fainted dead away. Their introduction to battle. And they had only gone 1 block before they were out of combat. Simply by listening to the thud of a lead. Our world just got very serious now. That awaits this brigade. And yet, we have a sense of duty. And we will keep going. After 10 minutes, General Maher is going to ride down from this direction towards us. He'll race down the front of the brigade, assure himself that everybody's here. He will race back to the front, unsheath his sword, and give the command to the Irish Brigade to proceed. We're going to keep moving. We've opened up the road, and we're going to move. When we do this, I want you to look at every cross street. And remember, shells coming down those streets. But when you look down the cross streets, also look at the lay of the land. Because just beyond us, 2 blocks away, is a ridge at a plateau. As we move further into the city, the ridge will get more pronounced and will give us more protection. Because the Confederates can't see us marching down along the riverfront. The Rappahannock River is just in front of you. Confederates are just behind you. But we're going to maneuver between.
Welcome back. It's like I said in the beginning, so many units stood out during the American Civil War, but few stood out as far as the Irish Brigade. They had a very salty, shaky beginning, but by the time that Fredericksburg rolled around, they had made a name for themselves, and a name that even impressed the commanders of the enemy army. Sadly, by Gettysburg, most of the brigade, sadly, had perished. They called for new Irishmen to come in and join. They just didn't have the same caliber as the originals did. And well, the brigade faded into history. The train's coming. It's time for me to go. We got things to do. So until next time, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. God bless you. God love you. We do. We'll see you in history.